Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're literally raising the curtain and stepping right onto the stage of what is, honestly, one of the most groundbreaking, controversial, and just deeply fascinating pieces of modern drama ever written. We are talking about Henrik Ibsen's 1879 masterpiece, A Doll's House. I mean, imagine a world where the walls of your own home are actually a beautifully decorated stage set and every single move you make is choreographed by someone else. That's exactly the psychological landscape we're exploring today as we dive into a really fascinating scholarly analysis of one woman's journey from total subjugation to liberation.
To guide us through all this, we're grounding our explainer in a brilliant, recently published scholarly analysis by Dr. Ibrahim Muhammad Oman. His 2024 paper, which was published in the International Journal of Educational Sciences and Arts, takes this incredibly rigorous feminist lens to Ibsen's work. Othman's research breaks down exactly how Ibsen used his play to critique the societal norms of his time, and, well, it's this exact lens that we'll be using for our exploration today.
So, here's our playbill for today. We'll be moving through 5 acts. First, setting the stage. Second, inside the dollhouse. Third, the illusion of control. Fourth, Nora's Great Awakening. And finally, a timeless legacy.
All right, Act 1, setting the stage, 19th century Norway. Okay, let's dive right into this. The source material grounds us in the overarching system of the era, which is patriarchy. This was a social system where men essentially held all the cards. I mean, they possessed primary power, moral authority, social privilege, and complete control of property. In this environment, gender roles weren't just polite suggestions. No, they were absolute, restrictive, invisible walls that dictated exactly what a person could and could not do, based entirely on their gender. It's almost breathtaking when you stop and consider how completely boxed in half the entire population was.
So, what did those invisible walls actually look like for women in 19th century Norway? Well, the reality was incredibly stark. Women were strictly confined to the domestic sphere. They were legally and socially subordinate to men. Imagine having virtually no rights to property or education and your entire societal value being restricted simply to being a wife and a mother. And because of this, a woman was totally financially dependent on her husband. These are the incredibly high stakes of our narrative. Our protagonist, Nora Helmer, is born into this exact box. Moving right along to Act 2, Inside the Dollhouse, the metaphorical facade.
The source highlights a really fascinating 2019 analysis by Smith, noting a specific, very telling word here, and that word is choreographed. Nora's life within her home is tightly controlled by her husband, Torvald, exactly like a child arranging dolls in a dollhouse. Nora isn't a true partner, right? She's basically a plaything. Her domestic sanctuary is actually this beautifully disguised prison, where she possesses a profound lack of genuine freedom.
But it's bigger than just one bad marriage, isn't it? As Johnson notes in his 2018 research, the structure of Nora's household directly mirrors the wider societal norms of the era. The Helmer home isn't just some weird anomaly. It's a perfect microcosm of 19th century systemic oppression. Torvald is really just acting out the patriarchal authority that the outside world fully expects of him.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate scholarly consensus here, which is pretty striking. The home is supposed to be a refuge, a safe harbor, but for Nora, as Williams points out, it's a prison. Her entire individuality, her own personal desires and dreams, they are completely suppressed just so she can perfectly play the roles society has prescribed for her.
Which brings us to Act 3, the illusion of control, pulling the strings.
Now, the research highlights a super jarring disconnect in perspectives here. To Torvald, he sees himself as the authoritative, paternalistic provider. He views Nora as this delicate little skylark who needs constant moral and financial guidance. But Nora's frustrating lived reality? Entirely different. She is completely infantilized. She's trapped playing the subservient doll, putting on a show, even though, right beneath the surface, she possesses immense inner strength and capability.
So how exactly does Torvald maintain this dominance? Well, he pulls specific, calculated strings. He dictates every single penny of the household finances, handing Nora a meager allowance like she's a small child. He chips away at her autonomy, using these diminutive pet names like Little Squirrel. Seriously, he assumes total moral superiority over her intellect. He even physically directs her actions. Famously, he choreographs her movements during a dance to maintain absolute control. It's just a stifling web of manipulation. But here is where the facade really begins to crack. Nora is hiding a massive secret. Years prior, when Torvald was gravely ill, Nora took matters into her own hands. She illegally forged a signature to secure a loan to save her husband's life. This one singular act proves she is incredibly capable, deeply sacrificial, and, honestly, totally aware of how to navigate the real world. But it's an illegal secret, and that acts as a ticking time bomb, threatening to shatter the dollhouse entirely.
This sets us up perfectly for Act 4, Nora's Great Awakening, the Rebellion.
The climactic realization unfolds so rapidly. When Torvald inevitably discovers the secret forgery, Nora fully expects him to step up and protect her, because, that's what a true partner would do. Instead, he reacts with furious, completely self-centered rage, caring only about his own reputation. In that exact moment, the illusion shatters. Nora realizes her massive sacrifice meant absolutely nothing. She awakens to the harsh fact that she is marginalized, she's disposable, and her husband's love is entirely conditional on her remaining his perfectly obedient doll.
Henderson's 2018 analysis captures this profound insight perfectly. Torvald's rage acts as a catalyst, completely stripping away the romanticized veneer of their marriage. Nora is forced to reassess everything, realizing that she has never actually known who she is outside of the roles prescribed to her, first by her father and then by her husband.
And so, she does the unthinkable. Keep in mind, this is 1879. To the absolute shock of audiences across Europe, she leaves. She literally walks out the door, leaving her husband and children behind. As the scholarly analysis points out, this was a radical, monumental feminist statement that challenged the very sanctity of 19th century marriage. The idea spread like wildfire. The door slamming at the end of the play was so scandalous, in fact, that some theaters at the time actually forced Ibsen to write an alternate ending. No way, right?
Finally, let's look at Act 5, A Timeless Legacy, The Modern Echo.
You might be wondering, why are we still fiercely debating a play from almost 150 years ago? Well, because, as Dr. Othman's research points out, contemporary feminist movements draw direct parallels between Nora's systemic entrapment and ongoing modern issues. The paper connects this historical text to things we still see today, like the persistent gender pay gap, struggles for equity in domestic labor, the underrepresentation of women in leadership, and the ongoing fight against domestic abuse. The researchers argue that while the invisible walls might look a bit different today, they definitely haven't all been knocked down. Which leaves us with this really powerful question to reflect on, based on the source material. Have we truly dismantled the dollhouse, or have we just given it a modern renovation? It's a question Ibsen forced his audience to grapple with back in 1879, and honestly, it's one that demands our attention just as urgently today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this deep dive into A Doll's House sparked some new ideas and gave you a fresh perspective on a true classic. Catch you next time.